VinFast. A couple of months ago, the brand entered the Philippine market, and as we speak, they now have 4 dealers. The company is interesting to us because in just a span of little over 5 years, they were able to transition from making gas cars, or at least cars that are based from BMWs like the Lux 8, 2 yata or something like that. So VinFast's first cars were based on the BMW 5 Series, the F10 generation, and the X5. And then you also have the VinFast Philippines, which is based on the Opel car that's sold in Europe. So their first wave of cars, their first wave of gas-powered cars to be precise, were mostly joint projects with other brands. But a couple of years later, since those first cars, they've transitioned from making gas-powered cars to fully electric vehicles. So I guess you could say that the brand is VinFast VinFurious. I'm sorry. So basically the reason why the brand is very fast in making cars is, well, you basically have Vin Group to thank for. So Vin Group is basically kind of like their Ayala. So they have real estate, malls, hospitals, even education pa nga. And yun nga ngayon, they're now making electric cars. So I guess you could say that Vin Group has Vin to almost every industry. So yeah, I'm sorry there's gonna be a lot of Vin Group or VinFast puns here. But yeah, at least, you know, Vin there done. Sorry, di ko kinakaya talaga. But anyway, yun nga, they're basically owned by Vin Group, which also has hotels, then resorts, among other industries. And then, again, in a span of a little over 5 years or less than 5 years, they were able to make an entire supply chain, an entire production line that's catering to purely electric cars. So, interesting company, especially since that they're based in Southeast Asia. So, they're kind of like our neighbor, of course, ang Vietnam, di ba? So, there's a sense of pride, I guess, a Southeast Asian pride of sorts na, you know, kaya ng region natin to make a fully electric car that can be sold in the United States at the very least. So speaking of the United States sa ngayon, I'm gonna be transparent sa inyo guys. I've seen the reviews in the US. I've seen the somewhat hostile reviews of American journalists sa mga kotse ni VinFast, especially the VF8. Because I don't know what to expect about VinFast and their car, so I kind of watched their reviews. So let's just say those comments weren't that nice, but credit to where credit is due because VinFast was able to address those concerns by the American media. Basically, if you're gonna be watching more recent reviews of VinFast cars in the US, they've mostly addressed their initial complaints. So at least VinFast has an open mind in making their cars and improving their cars to basically cater to their target markets. Depending on your POV, can sound like the initial customers being sort of beta testers for VinFast, but again, yun nga, on the upside at least, VinFast is doing stuff to, of course, improve their cars and basically make a better car to truly suit the customer's needs. Again, interesting company, and let's now go to their first car in the Philippine market, the VinFast VF5. It's a small or city car crossover SUV, but yeah, despite the dinky dimensions, it's about the same size as the Toyota Raize, the Kia Sonet nga, and it also has a ground clearance to somewhat match those cars, 168mm if I'm not mistaken. So from the outside, the car looks simple but reasonably stylish. The car was, by the way, designed by Pininfarina and Torino Design, if I'm not mistaken, with the other design team. And if you're going to be visiting Vietnam for the first time, you're going to be seeing a lot of VinFast VF5s being used by their local taxi operators. Yeah, simple exterior but reasonably stylish. Of course, you have to manage your expectations being their entry-level offering. So yeah, that's a good time for us to explore the inside of the VinFast VF5 because, well, of course, I was able to see the cars in Vietnam. So guys, welcome here inside the VinFast VF5, and as you're gonna see, matching the budget price tag of this car, the interior is mostly in hard plastic. So yeah, it's hard but durable plastic naman. It's really good in terms of the build quality actually. I'm trying to move this center console here and it feels really robust. And the center console, which by the way, you have here the rotary gear selector. As you're also gonna see, by the way, there's a lack of physical controls here because everything has been moved towards a touchscreen here. And in fairness naman to the touchscreen, it responds very fast. Maganda yung response time sa kanyang interface. And it's dead simple yung kanyang interface. It's very simple, very straightforward. There's not much gimmicks here to see. So by the way, worth mentioning with the VinFast VF5 is despite being an affordable car, meron ka pa rin ditong blind spot warning, which is very useful sa mga kamote drivers or kamote riders natin na pasingit-singit sa mga kotse natin, especially when going through blind corners. All things considered, this is a nice interior, or at least a nice enough interior. You have here even pa nga a fully digital gauge cluster, which makes the car feel very modern despite its budget positioning. So let's move to the back seats of the car, which as you're gonna see ngayon, there's a good amount of space here at the rear seats. So in terms of legroom, just by the way in my driving position, and for my 5'11" height, ang luwag pa rin ng legroom ko actually. And then as for headroom, ganun din, medyo maluwag din siya. Actually, hindi siya medyo, talagang maluwag siya for my height. Yun nga lang, my issue with this car is that the battery pack has sort of made the floor a bit taller. So yung knees ko ngayon are a bit higher than what I would usually prefer in a car. Kaya as a result, parang there's a lack of thigh support nga lang for long-legged adults like me. So yeah, it's a knees up situation here at the back of the VinFast VF5, but space-wise, it's still pretty good enough. And then, as for amenities, you have here, actually, being a budget car, you don't have any amenities here at the back, except for a rear USB charging port. Good enough, I think, for the price point. As for the trunk space, actually, again, considering the size of the car, it's pretty good, but not the best in class because, of course, the batteries are sort of eating into the space of the trunk area. And then, as for the drivetrain, being the most affordable in the VinFast lineup, this is a very basic, kung sabihin natin, or like, di ba basic, but like, this has an entry-level front-wheel drive electric drivetrain along with a battery pack that's good enough for a decent amount of range. So yeah, in terms of specs, the VinFast VF5, again, it's a simple electric car. You have a front-mounted electric motor, so it's front-wheel drive. And you also have a reasonably sized battery pack, which, speak of the suppliers by the way of VinFast, the batteries are sourced from CATL, but the impressive part here is that yung kanang electric motors, by the way, are made by VinFast themselves. That's not usual in the EV market because most companies would often outsource the EV motors, or rather the electric motors. But VinFast sort of decided to make their own electric motor. So that's impressive on their part. And yeah, let's talk about the driving experience. So in terms of the driving experience of the VinFast VF5, there is one aspect though where I was a bit caught off guard, and that's the car's acceleration behavior. So ang ibig ko sabihin dun basically is that when you drive an electric car, you kinda expect it to have instant torque. So the moment na umapa ka sa throttle pedal niya, you kinda expect snappy instant acceleration. But in the VinFast VF5, interestingly, meron siyang onting delay. And according to the engineers, it was actually deliberate because the VinFast VF5, or a lot of their cars basically, have been designed in a way ng electric drivetrain para daw yung mga mag-a-adjust from a gas-powered car to an electric car ay hindi ma-caught off guard with the typical electric car. But apart from that slight quirk with the VinFast VF5, here's how this car performs on their test track. So the steering here is light, and though in terms of feedback, this one naman is numb. Again, matching lang talaga the budget positioning of this car. But compared to other budget cars in this segment, if you want stability, if you want big car stability out of your small car, this is it. I'm currently traveling at 70 kph, so let's speed it up to 103, 110, 113, 116, 120. This car feels so stable. This car is so stable at these speeds. Much more stable than any other small car, I think. This car feels really stable. Malaking contribution talaga yung kanyang battery pack, making this car feel rigid and very stable. I like the chassis rigidity of this car. It's very rock solid for its price. Again, the roads nga lang are smooth here. So I think it's worth trying out pa rin how this will perform in Philippine roads. Handling wise, there's more roll na ngayon in this car compared to the VF7, but it's still pretty good. Again, the battery pack is sort of helping the car feel more planted. This feels more planted, to be honest, than the Kia Sonet pa nga and the Toyota Raize lalo. This car feels more planted, more rock solid in the bends. Yeah, the thin tires of this car means ang baba ng kanang grip limit. So yeah, the car's understeering and you know, it's going wide. The car goes wide and tendency if you're gonna push this car into the corners. But then again, you have to remember, this is a budget entry level car. So going electric in budget cars really makes them infinitely better, because you have to remember na with budget cars, you tend to hear the engine noise, the road noise, the wind noise. But here in the VinFast VF5, though there's more road noise na here in this car compared to the VF7 we drove a while ago, pero compared to other cars in this segment, because this car is so quiet in the first place, it's very refined agad with no drivetrain noise whatsoever. So it's really good on a refinement perspective. First impressions with the VinFast VF5 are really good, I think. It's really good. It's a comfort-oriented. That's what I think about this car. It's a comfort-oriented budget car, especially due to the improved refinement of being electric compared to other budget gas-powered cars. Can't wait, of course, to test the VinFast VF5 on our local Philippine roads. But in the meantime, if you're interested in the VinFast VF5, you're probably gonna be surprised with their pricing structure, and that's because for a little under 1 million pesos for its starting price, hindi pa dun kasama yung kanyang battery. Though what I mean by that is, yung battery mo at that price point will be a monthly subscription. Whether that will work for you will be pretty much dependent on your use case with the electric car, of course. So if you want the battery as well, you're going to be paying a little under 1.2 million pesos for the VinFast VF5. So again, interesting price point, interesting business model for the VinFast VF5. So let us know down in the comment section below if you want us to review a VinFast and whether you're considering as well in purchasing one of their electric cars.